welcome to the Excursion 3 on the Disneyland Railroad. While the train is in motion, please make sure that everybody keeps their hands, arms, feet, and legs behind, and make sure everybody stays seated at all times. Parents, make sure you do keep an eye on your little ones, making sure that they are properly seated away from train openings. We're now departing Main Street Station en route to Tomorrowland Square.
Welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. We're embarking on a Grand Circle tour into Kimball.
Railroad. For your safety, please remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. If you have small children whose toes do not touch the floor, please keep them away from the vehicle openings and have them seated on the inside of the bench or on the lap of an adult. For Pirates of the Caribbean, the Haunted Mansion, Splash Mountain, the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the Indiana Jones Adventure, the world-famous Jungle Cruise, the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and Fantastic. The 9 o'clock Fantastic has already started, so there is going to be another one at 10:30, and then fireworks are going to be at 9:30 in about 10 minutes. If you're leaving us here, please remain seated. Do not stand up until the train comes to a full and complete stop inside. Be leaving soon. Once again, make sure everyone is seated, please. And all children must be seated on their back pockets. Next up is Mickey's Toontown Depot.
Joining us, welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. To ensure a safe ride, stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
Part of the journey. Around every bend, there's natural beauty as far People like you have been riding these rails since the 1800s, traveling through nature's wonderful frontier. Of course, some of those dreams and the stories that went with them were pretty darn wild and downright unbelievable. Like on Big Thunder Mountain, where I hear that mysterious spirits have grabbed hold of those mining trains and turned them into the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Receiving our way to Mickey's Toontown Depot. Just keep in mind, Mickey's Toontown is already closed. and legs inside the train at all times. If you have small children whose toes do not touch the floor, please keep them away from the vehicle openings and have them seated on the inside of the bench or on a level with adults. Our next stop is Tomorrowland Station. Here we go, the fireworks are starting.
This on the Disneyland Railroad. For a safe ride, remember to stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please...
Well, now you can say you were part of the show. You can see the projections on It's a Small World. They're going to go right off of you as well. Look behind you on It's a Small World, and in front of you, all the projections that you can see on the castle. You are now literally part of it. Yay! Wave, everybody! We're part of the show! Woo!
Fantasyland. You can see people... And, in the distance, majestic Matterhorn Mountain. Inspired by visions of tomorrow, both practical and imagined. Here you'll find rocket ships and stars. Monorail system in the entire Western Hemisphere, gliding above Disneyland since 1959. Below the monorail and us,
Exit, Main Street shops, and the rest of the fireworks. If you're leaving us here, please remain seated. Do not stand up until the train comes to a full and complete stop inside the station. This is a reminder here on Main Street, there are no ramps or elevators, so please keep your wheelchairs or strollers folded until the bottom of the stairs. Thank you.
we'd have to go all the way around the park. And Railroad. We're embarking on a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. We'll be stopping at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. We'll also visit the Grand Canyon and make a trip back.
For your safety, friends, be sure to remain seated at all times with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Be sure to supervise smaller children, making sure they're seated away from the large opening in the center of the train car. Our next stop on our Grand Circle tour will take us to Toontown Depot, your gateway to all of Fantasyland. Along the way, we'll take the scenic routes and pass alongside the rivers of America.
To ensure a safe day. Speaking of critters, this place we're passing over is home to a whole bunch of them. Here in Critter, people like you have been riding these rails since the 1800s. traveling through nature's wonderland in a matter of days, rather than the months it used to take. Transition from the frontier to another kind of gear, the ones you'll find on Mickey and Minnie Mouse. Our next stop is Toontown Depot, official train station for Mickey's Toontown, a cartoon home where Mickey, Minnie, and all their friends live. Toontown Depot is also the gateway to Fantasyland, where you'll find many of your favorite Disney animated characters and stories. If you're leaving us here, please wait until the train comes to a full stop. Remember your personal belongings, then step...
Welcome to Toontown Depot, folks, your gateway to Fantasyland. Keep in mind, Mickey's Toontown has closed for the rest of the evening and won't reopen until tomorrow morning, 1 hour after the park opens. However, all of Fantasyland remains open for your enjoyment. You can enjoy attractions like It's a Small World, Alice in Wonderland, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, King Arthur's Carousel, or one of my personal favorites, the Casey Jr. Circus Train. If you're leaving us here, friends, please don't stand up quite yet. Wait until we've reached a full stop inside the station to do so. This is Toontown Depot, your gateway to Fantasyland. It's bedtime. It's pretty tired after a whole day of pulling people around the park. So we are going to do one more trip with this train, and then we'll be removing it for the evening. So we'll be stopping at Tomorrowland Station, which is our next stop. We'll be stopping at Main Street Station, New Orleans Square Station. Once we get back here to Toontown Depot, we will be removing the train for the night. So for those of you that are still with us at that point, we'll be asking everyone to disembark at that time. Again, folks, this train only has one more Grand Circle tour left in it. Once we get back to Toontown, everyone will need to disembark.
Say the word. Say the word.
Alright folks, looks like we are good to go now. For your safety, be sure to remain seated at all times throughout the journey with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. We ask that everyone supervise small children and make sure they're seated away from the large opening in the center of the train car. Our next stop is Tomorrowland Station, and as a reminder, this will be your last chance to disembark at Tomorrowland as we will not be returning. Thank you.
Stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Y bienvenidos a bordo. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
As we leave Toontown Depot, we get a real nice view of the happiest land of them all, Fantasyland. You can see people stepping onto It's a Small World just below us. And, off in the distance, majestic Matterhorn Mountain. We're now steaming forward into the future to a land inspired by visions of tomorrow, both practical and imagined. Here you'll find rocket ships and star speeders, submarines and astroblasters, and, if you look overhead, maybe a glimpse of a Mark 7 monorail. This is the latest version of the first daily operating monorail system in the entire Western Hemisphere, gliding above Disneyland since 1959. Below the monorail, and us, are the fun facts a minute.
Welcome to Tomorrowland Station, land of the future. Not as this world inventions await you here at Space Mountain. Star Tours, the adventure continues. Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, the Autopia, and many more. If you're leaving us here, friends, don't stand up quite yet. Wait until we reach the full stop in order to do so. Again, folks, this is your last chance to disembark here at Tomorrowland, as this train will not be returning here.
Back here, we're only going 3 more stations. We're going to Main Street Station, New Orleans Square, and maybe Toontown Depot, and the train will be put away for the night. If you're planning to come back here, you're going to be on the next train behind us in about 10 to 15 minutes.
For your safety, be sure to remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. This is the last time you'll be able to disembark here at Main Street Station. Once we arrive at Toontown Depot, the train will be put away for the evening. We appreciate your patience and understanding, folks. Remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Please supervise small children, seating them away from the opening in the center of the train car. Our next stop on the line is New Orleans Square Station. As a reminder, folks, we are on our final lap around the park. Once we arrive at New Orleans Square Station, that will be your last chance to disembark in New Orleans. As once we arrive at Toontown Depot, that will be the end of the line.
Have a great trip, everybody.
Just ahead of New Orleans Square Station. This station also serves Frontierland and Gurley. If you'll be leaving us here, please remain seated until the train comes to a complete stop.
Welcome to New Orleans Square Station, your stop for Critter Country, Frontierland, Adventureland, and of course New Orleans Square. We have a performance of Fantastic just about to start at 10:30 p.m. here alongside the Rivers of America. If you're leaving us, folks, don't stand up until we reach the full stop inside the station, and then it will be safe for you to disembark. This is New Orleans Square Station, New Orleans Square. So, be sure to remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train, and supervising small children, seating them away from the large opening in the center of the train car. Alright folks, the train is about to move soon. We need everyone safely seated at this time. Thank you.
Signals our transition from the frontier to another kind of here, the ones you'll find on Mickey and Minnie Mouse stories. If you're leaving us here, please wait until the train comes to a full stop. Remember your personal belongings, then step.
Well, friends, it looks like we have reached the end of the line here at Toontown Depot. On behalf of the engineers, the front conductor Francesca, and myself, we'd like to thank you for joining us aboard the Disneyland Railroad this evening, and do hope that you'll enjoy the rest of your stay here at Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. For your safety, folks, remember to remain seated until the train has reached a full stop inside the station. Once we come to a full stop, then it will be safe for you to disembark.
everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Disneyland Railroad. For a safe ride, remember to stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Y bienvenidos a bordo. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños.
That's why I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Look at you. Yeah. Like, yeah, they just keep you You just weren't paying attention. Yeah, and I think that's part of it. So annoyed that I just keep in doing it. It's so many times my dad's like, oh, let's talk to Sharp for a while, let's go. Okay, well, bye.
Now arriving from a trip around Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom. Passengers will stand by.
And if you are sitting around with us, you can sit next to you, please slide all the way down to the left-hand side. We're going to ask that everybody take a seat and continue to remain seated and keep all hands, arms, feet, and legs inside of the train. If you have any little ones with you, please supervise them and place them towards the inside of our train, the large opening on your right. Next stop is for Tomorrowland. And just so that all you folks know, once we make it back to Main Street, USA, we're going to be holding there until the park closes at 11. That way we can do one last big circle trip to pick everybody else up that's still in the park. So once again, folks, once we make it back to Main Street, we will be holding there until 11. We will not take off right away like we normally do.
Remember to stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Y bienvenidos a bordo. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
As we leave Toontown Depot, we get a real nice view of the happiest land of them all, Fantasyland. You can see people stepping onto It's a Small World just below us. And, off in the distance, majestic Matterhorn Mountain. We're now steaming forward into the future to a land inspired by visions of tomorrow, both practical and imagined. Here you'll find rocket ships and star speeders, submarines and astroblasters, and, if you look overhead, maybe a glimpse of a Mark 7 monorail. This is the latest version of the first daily operating monorail, including lightsabers and astroblasters, and step carefully from the train. Thanks, and have fun in the future. For the rest of you, just sit tight. We'll be on our way again in just a minute.
Tomorrowland is your stop for Star Tours, Space Mountain, Autopia, Buzz Lightyear, Astro Blaster, Intercontinental Submarine Voyage or the Astro Orbiter. You can even pick up the Monorail here. Keep in mind that they will take their last trip at 11. Once we make it to Main Street, USA, we will be holding there till the park closes at 11. That way we can make one last trip to pick up everyone that's still left out in the park. So folks, we need everyone to remain seated. We'll be moving shortly.
Legs inside the train. Watch your children and no flash photography.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Por favor, no tome fotografías con flash.
Still in the park after all attractions have closed, and bringing everybody on the train and bring them back to the main entrance so they can exit out easily. Well, again, we'll be leaving at 11 p.m.
It is now ended its normal operating day. We hope you enjoyed your visit to the Magic Kingdom and that the memories you've made will bring you back again soon. While the rest of the park closes, Main Street will remain open for an additional hour for your shopping convenience.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Excursion Train here on the Disneyland Railroad. We are embarking on our final trip of the evening, which means this is pickups only until we come back to Main Street as the park is now closed for the evening. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Supervise your children, making sure that any small children whose feet do not touch the ground are seated away from that train opening on the right or on the lap of a parent. Our next stop will be New Orleans Square.
Welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. We're embarking on a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. We'll be stopping at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. We'll also visit the Grand Canyon and make a trip back in time to the primeval world and the age of the dinosaurs before returning to Main Street Station. As we begin our journey, remember that for a safe trip, you need to stay seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your children.
Bienvenidos a bordo del Disneyland Railroad. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
Our first stop is New Orleans Square Station. But to get there, we need to pass through the wilds of Adventureland. It may seem peaceful through here, but trust me, it's a real jungle out there. Literally. So be on the lookout. You just never know what might be lurking along the rails. Just ahead is New Orleans Square Station. This station also serves Frontierland and Critter Country. If you'll be leaving us here, please remain seated until the train comes to a complete stop. Then watch your step as you're getting on. For those of you continuing on with us, we'll be resuming our trip in just a moment. This is New Orleans Square Station. New Orleans Square.
Please remain seated as we pull into New Orleans Square Station. And as a reminder, as this is pickups only, we'll pick up a few more coasters, and then we'll be on our way to our next stop. Here on the Disneyland Railroad, this train is ready to depart, so please hold your seats at this time, folks. Thank you. Now, we are embarking on our final trip of the evening. This means that no one will be able to depart the train until we return to Main Street, as the park is now closed for the evening. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Please supervise your children, making sure that any small children whose feet do not touch the ground are seated away from the train opening on the right or on the lap of the parent. Our next stop will be in Toontown.
Stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños.
We're now entering Splash Mountain, rumored to be the location of the one and only Laughing Place. If you look real hard, you just might find it. It's where the critters are celebrating a zippity-doo-dah day. Speaking of critters, this place we're passing over is home to a whole bunch of them. Here in Critter Country, you can join Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Brer Rabbit, and Brer Bear on their fun-filled adventures. As we steam past Hungry Bear Restaurant, the last last outpost in these parts, we're now joining up with the rivers of America and entering the frontier as it looked more than a century and a half ago. This is my favorite part of the journey. Around every bend, there's natural beauty as far as the eye can see. Revered Indian shaman sharing his stories with those in the Great River Valley below. People like you have been riding these rails since the 1800s, traveling through nature's wonderland in a matter of days, rather than the months it used to take by mule or stagecoach. Steam power not only fueled these iron horses, but the dreams of a whole new generation as it moved west into this great frontier. Of course, some of those dreams and the stories that went with them were pretty darn wild and downright unbelievable, like on Big Thunder Mountain, where I hear that mysterious spirits have grabbed hold of those mining trains and turned them into the wildest ride in the wilderness. Toontown Depot, official train station for Mickey's Toontown, the cartoon home where Mickey, Minnie, and all their friends live. Toontown Depot is also the gateway to Fantasyland, where you'll find many of your favorite Disney animated characters and stories. If you're leaving us here, please wait until the train comes to a full stop. Remember your personal belongings, then step carefully from the train. Have fun, and say hi to Mickey and Minnie for me. Those of you continuing on with us, we'll be resuming our trip in just a moment. This is Toontown Depot, Mickey's Toontown.
Of the evening, meaning this is pickups only as the park is now closed. Everyone will be able to depart the train at Main Street only. Once again, folks, this is our final trip of the evening. Our next stop will be Tomorrowland Station, so of course please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train at all times. Supervise your children, making sure that any small children whose feet do not touch the ground are seated away from that train opening on the right or on the lap of a parent. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Disneyland Railroad. For a safe ride, remember to stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. And please watch your kids.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Y bienvenidos a bordo. Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
As we leave Toontown Depot, we get a real nice view of the happiest land of them all, Fantasyland. You can see people stepping onto It's a Small World just below us. And, off in the distance, majestic Matterhorn Mountain. Steaming forward into the future to a land inspired by visions of tomorrow, both practical and imagined. Here you'll find rocket ships and star speeders, submarines and astroblasters, and, if you look overhead, maybe a glimpse of a Mark 7 monorail. This is the latest version of the first daily operating monorail system in the entire Western Hemisphere, gliding above Disneyland since 1959. Below the monorail, and us, are the fun-filled roadways of the Autopia. Drivers of all ages can get behind the wheel of these cars. No experience or license required. If you're into soaring spaceships or doing battle with evil empires and emperors, Tomorrowland is definitely the place for you. Speaking of which, we're pulling into Tomorrowland Station right now. If you're leaving us here, just stay seated until we come to a full stop. Gather your belongings, including lightsabers and astro blasters, and step carefully from the train. Thanks, and have fun in the future. For the rest of you, just sit tight. We'll be on our way again in just a minute.
We are at our final leg of our journey back to Main Street Station. We'll be taking a detour to the Grand Canyon and going back in time to the primeval world before we get there. So once we enter that tunnel that's up ahead, if you'll be taking any photos, we do kindly ask that you please turn off your flash, external video lighting, or any light-up toys you might have, such as Mickey ears, bubble wands, and lightsabers. Thank you.
To those who have just come aboard, welcome. The next leg of our journey will take us from the fantastic world of the future to the breathtaking beauty of nature's own design, the Grand Canyon. For your safety, stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Watch your children and no flash photography.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren y cuide a los pequeños. Por favor, no tome fotografías con flash.
Grand Canyon as we know it today. But it wasn't always this way. Now, let's travel back in time, way back in time, to the fantastic past of the primeval world, land of the dinosaurs. If you're leaving us here, stay in your seat until we come to a full stop. Remember to gather all your personal belongings and step carefully from the train. I'd especially like to thank those of you who've been with me for the Grand Circle Tour of Disneyland. We hope you enjoyed your travels with us and that you'll come back to ride with us again real soon. For those of you staying with us, we'll be on our way again in just a few minutes. This is Main Street Station, Main Street, USA.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are returning to Main Street Station. Please remain seated until the train has come to a full and complete stop inside the station. We do like to remind you that this is our oldest, therefore we do not have any ramps, so if you're traveling with strollers or wheelchairs, we do kindly ask that you please keep those folded until you reach the bottom of the stairs. We thank you for riding with us tonight on our final trip of the evening. We hope you have a magical and safe journey home.
Welcome aboard the Disneyland Railroad. We're embarking on a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. We'll be stopping at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. We'll also visit the Grand Canyon and make a trip back in time to the medieval world and the age of the dinosaurs before returning to Main Street Station.